everybody. Welcome back to Safari Escapes with Kelly. Today I have the absolutely lovely Sharon Stead joining me from the Amalinda Safari collection. Hi Shaz, how are you?
Hi, Kels. It's cold here in Bulawayo, but we're good, and it's so awesome to see you again. Yeah.
So Shaz, obviously talking about the Amalinda Safari collection today, and you guys have got three amazing camps near Wangi, in Wangi, which is Ivory, Kulu, and Tuskers. And I saw, obviously, through this whole lockdown, you have spent quite a lot of time there, which I think everybody was extremely jealous and envious. And it was so nice watching your stories and seeing the amazing wildlife sightings that you had. Just incredible and so lucky. Yeah, I'm sure you had an amazing lockdown compared to most people around the world.
Well, I do count myself extremely privileged to have done that. And as it was all starting to happen, I said to our son Mitchell, you're going to be locked down in Harare. This is absolutely can't happen. He's so attention deficit, that you need to come and stay with us in Wangi. So he brought a few of his mates across, and we did. We spent the first month in Wangi. But I don't know if you know our home there is private retreat. So that's also a property that we open up to as like a private villa. And that's where we stayed, and it was insane. And I think, that there's definitely a lot to be said about wildlife moving back into their spaces. And when there were less humans and less movement in vehicles and game drives, you could see that the wildlife was just coming closer. So it was a very special time.
Very envious, and yeah, what a special time. Also to be with your family there, how lucky. Except for Sab, obviously, shame she was in Harare.
Yeah.
Jealous as well.
Even this week when the park started opening up, I took my mum, just the two of us, into the park, and that sort of time is like really special to be together, because you do get caught up in your day-to-day life, and even though lockdown has been locked down and it's been quiet, our businesses have still been busy in behind the scenes, and the back of house has still been hectic. So it was great just to spend that time on your own and having the whole park to yourself. So yeah, very lucky.
Amazing, I'm sure. Now, speaking of that, I was going to ask you, I'm sure it may have come up a few times, but I think a lot of people might question, whether it's to be better, better to be in the national park versus if you're just outside on the periphery. And I know you got your camps out. So I wanted to ask your thoughts on that and see if you can give us your sort of feeling and history and background and experience and everything.
Yeah, it's a very good question, Kelly, because the perception in the international or the safari goers' mind is that it's all happening in the park, and the animals kind of like know that that's their space, and outside the park is not their space. But we both know that there's just the railway line, and the animals move across the railway line and into private concessions on the side. So they are. They're misinformed about that, but there's also a very big backstory to why supporting lodges outside of the park is also very important. And it's the only way tourism will survive is if wildlife survives. Well, sort of like safari, tourism for Zimbabwe. And if wildlife doesn't survive, then tourism won't survive out here either. So you have to get the benefit, or so the community to benefit from tourism in that aspect. And because we have one boundary is on our concession is the Mabali community, they need to feel that they are benefiting from that resource as well. And you have to get that balance between the community buy-in and, of course, the wildlife side. So, and I believe we have got that. And, we're working really closely with the councillors, and we have an MOU with Mother Africa Trust to try and protect those villages on the outside of our, on the side of our concession, where they are affected by the marauding lions and hyenas and they come across there at night, and if your cattle are not put into a proper, like, secured boma, they will be eaten. So generally what happens is during the day the cattle are let out, and they will find themselves onto our concession, and they'll graze there, and then at night they'll be herded back to the community. But they'll be put into these really small or ineffective enclosures, and they are not lion-proof or predator-proof. So we've done a lot of work in protect and building these corrected, proper, secure, predator-proof bomas for their cattle. And so that's how they're benefiting. And then they're seeing that, we want to protect the wildlife, and why it shouldn't just be killed for any sake, just because they've lost a goat, at night, So, and that the tourism dollars that the people are spending with us in that area is all funneled and channeled towards those initiatives. And there's other things. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it as well, but there's other sustainable projects that we get involved in the community. And the beauty of staying with us is that you can get to see the community side and the interaction with wildlife and how they live, and then go back into that wild, untouched, serene safari experience. So it gives you a nice mix of both.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it sounds like such a perfect balance. You've got the community part of side of a safari, which so many people want to be involved in these days, and it's a huge part of travel. It's not just we're going to Africa to see the wildlife. It's a lot to do with
exactly.
So yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you, Shaz. And obviously, leading on from that, you have the Mother Africa Trust, which I know you guys have some incredible projects which you work on. And without the tourism dollar, I know many people on this conservation and community projects are suffering. And I wanted to ask how you guys are managing with that. And I know it's Amalinda's 30-year anniversary this year, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And
it's really exciting.
So exciting. And you guys are doing this amazing 30 for 30 campaign, which again, I believe it goes hand in hand with the trust. And I just wanted to ask you all about that and if you could fill us in.
Okay, so had COVID not arrived, we would have enjoyed the experience of celebrating this phenomenal 30 years with everybody in camp who came through this year. And it's actually quite sad not to be able to expose everyone to that, but we're trying really hard to do a lot more of our online stuff to remind people of that. So Savannah came up with this idea, well, it's 30 years, so let's try and raise $30,000. So it's $1,000 for every year that we've actually been operating. And then we decided which were our favorite 6 projects that needed funding. And then the money would be allocated appropriately to that specific initiative. So whether it was the scholarship program or our drought relief program, building a school in Matopus, our APU and what we call our eco warriors and support for them, the lion-proof bomas. So there's 6 of those projects out there. So we've actually done pretty well, and we're almost halfway there of reaching our goal, even though our guests have not even been in camp. And that's really special. So Mother Africa, even during the lockdown, we were still working. We're still building those lion-proof bomas, because those people are still being affected. The feeding scheme is actually going to start up next month. We're just trying to raise a little bit more money for that specific project, because we've identified 350 families that we're wanting to support for the next, until the rains come. So you're looking at August, September, October, 3 months of support for 350 families. So it is massive, but it's something that's really close to our hearts. And without giving back and without looking after those sort of the people and the wildlife, which is so important to us, we would have no future, and we wouldn't be, for the next 30 years. So it is something that is very special for us.
Very special. Geesh, it sounds like you are moving mountains over there, Shaz. some incredible projects, and I'm so happy to hear that you are on goal, like reaching your target, even though obviously tourism is still not really anywhere back to where it should be. But it's so wonderful to hear that, and amazing work to you guys. Honestly, hats off. I'm sure everyone around the world is so impressed and so touched by everything that you guys do. It really is amazing.
Well, we can't do it on our own, and it's always like, we've done it with everybody's support, and we're just a conduit of that love and the passion and the heart that people feel for this country. And even in these times where everybody's struggling, hey Kelly, around the world, people are losing their jobs, and we've had our partners in America still giving us funding and forwarding us money, which is absolutely heartwarming, to see that. So yeah, we keep soldiering on.
Yes, we do indeed. And lastly, Shaz, I have to ask, if obviously, I'm sure this is quite a tricky one for you, but with the Amalinda Safari Collection, you've got obviously the 3 in Waihi, you've got Amalinda in Matopus. What if you had to choose one and just say which is your favorite, the most dearest to your heart? Which one would it be?
Kelly, that's like asking me which of my 2 children are more favorite. So if Savannah's watching this, she'll say, yeah, she's the favorite. But they, like a son and a daughter, they're very different, and what they both offer. The 2 regions are incredibly different. The serenity and calmness and the spirituality of the Matoba Hills, that is the soul of Africa, and you cannot leave that place without being touched, by that spirituality and the history and the culture that's involved there. It's tame. So if you're wanting, like me, I love that wild, unexpected, not knowing what's going to happen around the next corner on the game drive. If you like that, then I would say Wangi is my favorite. But Wangi is big game, the big 5, and it's the real true ideal of what a safari is supposed to be like. And our camps are built in a way that we've wanted to interact nature with people and their experience. And certainly that comes from the ethos of Amalinda, being so immersed into the bush, into the bushman rocks. And so we try to carry that trend throughout and build our Wangi camps just alongside like ancient elephant trails, so that those elephants will still walk past. But so to say, which is my favorite? I love them for so different reasons, and so that's kind of unfair.
Fair enough. It's a really tricky question. So we'll just say ultimately they're all amazing. Combine them together, and you've got the perfect mix.
Oh, thanks, Kels. Yeah, it's been a very big family driven and passion that has got us to where we are right now.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a special, I think what you guys have created is very special and amazing, and I think it shows the support that you have, and yeah, definitely. Good. Thanks,
Carl.
Well, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been so divine to catch up with you and see you and chat, and yeah, just so lovely. Thank you.
It's been awesome to see you again, Kels, and you do come and see us as soon as you can. The parks are open now for Zimbos, and explore your backyard. So we'd love to see you again.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for having me.
Soon enough. And yeah, thanks again, Shaz. And thank you everybody else for joining in. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, cheerio. Bye.